I'm Lisa Picker from Carroll County Public Library. I'm happy to welcome you today to our Paranormal Casebook of Maryland program. And in this program, we will have Rob Goutreau and Margaret Ehrlich joining us. And take it away, Rob.
All right. Well, thank you, Lisa. And thanks to the library for hosting us on this Halloween afternoon during the pandemic, which is quite scary, appropriately enough. So I'm Rob Guttrow. I'm an author and a medium and a paranormal investigator. And also here with me is Margaret Ehrlich. She is the founder of Inspired Ghost Tracking. And Margaret, we just celebrated an anniversary of the team, right?
Yes, we did.
How many years?
12 years.
12 years. So, Margaret, before we get started into some case file of the group, Inspired Ghost Tracking, I would like to take a minute to have you introduce yourself and tell everybody how you got involved in the paranormal, and then we can get into what the group does and how you listening can get a paranormal investigation if you have a ghost in your house. So, Margaret?
All right. So I'm Margaret Ehrlich. I'm the founder of Inspired Ghost Tracking. We started 12 years ago, October 27th. And we do different things. We do investigations, public investigations. We do private investigations, and we do lectures. We have a meetup group that we meet in different locations, and then we have a core group that does private investigations. What we do with those is that we get someone that contacts us, and we will set up a time to go out to their home. We do a big question and answer to see what's going on in the home. And then we bring the mediums in to see what they think. We put it all together and give it to you so that you know what's going on in your home.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to share a cover of the book that encompasses some of our case files. It's called Case Files of Inspired Ghost Tracking. I'm the author, Rob Guttrow, and we just published it on Amazon.com earlier this year rather, not this week, this year, and it's got quite a number of case files. What happens on a paranormal investigation is that we go into somebody's private home if they have anything going on, and we send in two teams. So we send in a technical team first, usually. And Margaret, would you like to describe what kind of things are in the technical team?
So we normally have, there's about 6 of us that go in. We take in our cameras, our voice recorders, video cameras, and different meters like your millimeter and all that reads electronic things in the home, and temperature. We check the temperature around there, see if things are raising or lowering in different areas. And we sit around and we talk to them and give a see what all that we come up with. We're normally in a home about 3-4 hours just to see what we can pick up, and if we can get to talk to the spirits that you are claiming are there.
Okay, and then so after, and that's usually an overnight thing, right, Margaret? Or is it's quite a few hours?
Just a few hours. We don't do overnights anymore.
Not anymore. Yeah, the overnight ones were really tedious. So the second group that goes in are the mediums, of which I am one, and then there is Troy Klein and my husband Tom, and we have a couple of other sensitives on the group too. And what we do is we walk through, and we don't know anything about what the technical team has found out. Margaret doesn't share any of that stuff with us at all. And as a matter of fact, I love the way Margaret does this. She doesn't even tell the mediums the address until about an hour before we have to get there. And tell them why you do that.
I do that because I don't want them to be able to focus on it too much or to get too much information. I want to know what they get, not what they pick up on the internet or, things like that. So then they're focused on the case, they're focused on the address. They've picked things up on the way there. Um, they pick things up in front of the house, and we want to try to get it to correlate with what we have as investigators or what the person has told us is going on in the house.
So I'm gonna share a picture of a place that we investigated. I'm just gonna put this right up there on the screen. Hopefully everybody can see it. Um, and it's an historic building, but it actually looked like it looked pretty haunted from the outside. Um, so that will give you kind of an impression. Uh, but we don't even know what, as mediums, we have no idea what this property even looks like before we find it, thanks to using Waze or Google Maps or something like that that takes us in front of the property. And that said, this case that we're going to talk about today is just an example of that. We didn't know what the property looked like, and it took um, it took my dog Dolly to actually lead us to the property without us even know what it looked like. And I'll get into that. So today we're going to discuss the case of the burned ghost and two spirits. Um, just to note before we begin talking about the case too is that when we go into somebody's house, there are a number of things that could always be going on. The first thing we do is we try to disprove what people are experiencing. So um, one way we do that is to figure out if the house is settling. And since Tom is an architect, um, Tom can also figure out if there are different house noises that are happening, such as structural issues or pipes or something like that. Um, Margaret, would you like to explain what the K2 meter is used and what that energy does that people feel?
The K2 is almost like your millimeter, except it only has the EMF. That's the electronic magnetic fields. Um, and it has lights on it. It goes from green up to red and all the way in between. So it could be yellow, orange, going up to red. And they use it to find those. They have also used it to communicate with them to try to get them to hit on them and make it go up to the red or light up so that we know that they're around.
So if people have an electrical box in their home and they maybe go by it, and or if it's in the basement, for instance, and your washer and dryer is in the basement and your electrical box is there and it's not grounded properly, that will emit electromagnetic radiation, things that the K2 meter will pick up. Um, but what electromagnetic radiation does to somebody is it it gives you the feeling of paranoia. It makes you feel like you're being watched. Um, so so that's one of the ways we can disprove something is paranormal. It, because we can actually get readings on the electrical box that may be generating a lot of electromagnetic energy. So that said, our first line of business is to try and disprove anything that's paranormal. When we can't do that, then we start thinking that maybe there is something going on. so, um, So let me take a moment to explain what I what I have learned about how ghosts and spirits came to be and how they differ and how they're alike. Um, so first of all, what happens after we die is that the energies within us couple with our memories and personality and our knowledge, and then it combines with that energy, and we make a choice. We choose to stay here, earthbound, which is what I call a ghost, or we cross over into the light and join the other side, which is heaven or paradise or anything you want to call that on the other side. Um, they all use energy to get strong enough to communicate with us, and they use physical energies and they use emotional energies. So spirits of loved ones use love, faith, and hope as emotional energies, and they also draw on the physical energies of heat, light, water, and electricity. Those are the things that give them strength enough to come back and give us messages. Ghosts use those same physical energies, heat, light, water, and electricity, but they draw on negative emotional energies like fear and anxiety, depression and anger. Those are the things that fuel a ghost. Those are the things that make them appear. So if you go into a haunted place, um, and you're feeling that anxiety, a haunted place that maybe, looks like the one that I'm sharing it here on the screen, um, you're going to feel some anxiety going into the front door. And once you do that, you're really plugging in that ghost. You're giving that ghost the energy to communicate with you. So, so that's how they work. So, Margaret, can you tell some folks some of the different ways that ghosts have communicated with you or the team?
So we've had different ones that have touched us, have we've heard verbally. Um, we've used flashlights to talk with them. We've used the K2 meter. Um, trying to think of all the ways. Oh, the cat ball. So we use a light up cat ball. It's a motion activated light up cat ball. And we can ask them yes or no questions with it. And that helps us to communicate with them and know what they're, saying at that time.
Yeah, so because their energy, it's easy for them to touch touch those motion activated cat balls and give them a spark or a push, if you will, and that is actually a way that we get yes or no answers to different questions that we ask. We use that particularly in one of the cases that's in the book called "The Ghosts, Many Ghosts of the Maryland Mansion." So we went into one historic mansion and we used the cat ball on many occasions to get yes or no answers from what we found out and determined was a 6-year-old little girl who died in the house, and she continually used the cat ball. She loved that as a way to answer questions. Of course, she also liked playing with electricity. She liked showing up in front of people who were working on the house and scaring the daylights out of them. Um, but so that's in the many ghosts of the Maryland Mansion. So um, that said, we're going to talk about the case of the burned ghost and the two spirits. Um, so Margaret, do you recall what happened when you got the call about this particular case?
So the lady contacted me. She was having all kinds of things happen, as in almost like hot flashes. So my first guess was some of the things that she was telling me. She wasn't sleeping at night. She was having, hot flashes and all this stuff. So I thought, well, are you going through menopause? You know, I'm trying to figure some of the things going on. Um, because she wasn't giving me a lot of like paranormal stuff.
Hmm.
It was just things happening to her. And but some of the things, she said she did hear somebody. Um, her dog was, I think her dog had just passed away or something, wasn't Rob?
Yeah, her dog named Belle had passed away several months before, you said.
And so they felt that maybe it was the dog and all. So we set up to go in there. And although we got a little bit, we really didn't get a whole lot until the mediums went in.
Well, that's a good segue. Thank you, Margaret. Um, so after the tech team went in, the mediums came in. I think the next day. Is that correct? I can't remember offhand. I think it was the
I
next
know
day.
it was very quick this time for us. If it wasn't the next day, I think we did it on Saturday night, but I think you guys went in on Monday because it was some holiday. So
Okay.
I took Monday and went.
All right. Well, I'm going to take this time to explain how the mediums actually found the right house, and this is fascinating to me because um, we had taken our dog Dolly. I'm going to share a picture here of Dolly and Margaret. Um, hopefully, you can all see it. Um, Margaret, I'm not sure if you can see that or not.
I can see it.
You can. Okay. Um, so our dog is a Weimaraner. Actually, and our Weimaraner just passed actually last week. So now she's doing investigations with us in a different way. Um, but so we took her for the first time. Uh, and the only reason we took her is Margaret. This is the first time Margaret ever mentioned one thing in advance to the mediums. She mentioned that there may be the spirit of a dog in this house, and we have to figure out if that is true. But she said there's other things going on. So we figured the easiest way to address the spirit of a dog would be with another dog. As I've written in my books, Pets in the Afterlife 1 and 2, dogs have different physiology in their eyes and ears than humans, so they can actually see the movement of spirits. Spirits move at a faster movement, and they can hear spirits. Dogs can hear at different frequencies if you think of a dog whistle. So, that said, we got Dolly out of the truck. Um, uh, Actually, we pulled in the neighborhood and she started getting excited, and we didn't understand because she had never been there before. So we got her out of the truck. I put her leash on, and there was myself, Tom, and Troy, the other two mediums. We all came together. And Dolly pulled me really hard down the street, past two houses to a third house. Again, we didn't know what house it was, and she ran all the way up to the front door. And here in this picture, you see Margaret finally was able to get up to the front door and join Dolly. And I asked Margaret, I said, "Are we in the right place?" Because I didn't even know. I didn't even look at the number. And I was astounded that we, in fact, were in the right place. So, and Margaret, we never took another dog on another investigation, did we?
No, we didn't. Um, and I don't know why, because they do say that, dogs do help with cases and all that. But considering Rob was the one with the dogs, I guess it just wasn't called for with any of our others.
Well, the next one we can bring our dachshund Tyler. Although he may bark more than he might do anything, but um, so what was interesting here is that Dolly found the right house, and the way I can reason this is that the spirit of their dog Belle was outside and led Dolly to the correct house. There's no other way. There's no other reason why Dolly would be able to find that correct house. Um, so that said, we went inside and we walked around the first floor and we tried to do an investigation and let Dolly see if she could tell us anything. Nothing out of the ordinary came up. And by the way, that happens a lot with paranormal investigations. Nothing out of the ordinary comes up. Um, but when I finally dropped her leash, I asked the homeowner if I could just let her leash go. She was a very easygoing dog. And he was the only one there. It was just the dad, I think. Is that right, Margaret? Wasn't it just the dad in the house at the beginning?
He was the only one there at that time.
Okay. And things changed after that. But
Yeah.
so I let Dolly go, and the first thing she did was she ran up the stairs and she ran up to the first room on the right hand side. So I looked at the dad and I said, okay, does that mean anything to you? Because we followed Dolly up the stairs and she was sitting staring at a bed, a child's bed. And he said that his dog Belle would come in the house and run up the stairs and go right into that room and sit at that bed because he was bonded to the little boy who who slept in that room. So Dolly was following the spirit of Belle and doing exactly what she did when she was alive. So Dolly really helped us prove that Belle was there in spirit. It's pretty cool. So pay attention to your dogs and cats if they're staring at nothing, um, and they're staring at it for a little while. They're likely staring at somebody visiting from spirit. So remember, spirits come and go. They don't stay here. Ghosts are the ones that stay here. They're earthbound. So, and spirits, by the way, usually come around birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays. So make a note of the date that your cat or dog is staring at nothing, because they're likely staring at something. And especially since this is Halloween, somebody, a relative in spirit who may have liked Halloween, or a pet that used to dress up, may be showing up today. So, all right, that's part one of what turned out to be a three-part investigation. So, Margaret, I think Troy was the one that got the impression of the second spirit. Do you remember?
I think it was Troy. Um, and I think wasn't it the aunt?
It was. It was Aunt Nellie, I believe. Um, and he sensed her downstairs. I think that was the first place that he
Yeah.
sensed her. Wasn't it in the living room?
Yep.
So we were trying to figure out why she could possibly be there. We were. I think we asked about dates, certainly, to find out if any of the dates were relative to her, or like her passing, or her birthday, or any birthdays or passings in the house. And we couldn't figure out why she was there, at least until the mother came home. This is where we get into part three. So when we were in the house, I remember initially, before the mom came home, I remember feeling that there was nothing but light energy there. It seemed pretty calm. How did it feel to you, Margaret? I know you're sensitive.
It was very calm. I mean, it was almost like there was nothing really there, or the ones that were there, they meant something to the family. So it shouldn't have been anything to have caused the problems that she talked about.
Yeah, so we were kind of dumbfounded because she talked about shadows and uneasy feelings, um, and just some strange feelings. I think they were mostly upstairs. Do you do you remember exactly where she discovered them? Because I know upstairs is where we encountered them.
Yeah. And it was upstairs, and a lot of physical things. Um, like I had said, she got hot all the time. She couldn't sleep at night. She kept getting woke up by things and all. So it was mainly upstairs, which is where we did a lot of our investigation.
So I do remember that the tech team got some sound and something. I think one of the things sounded like ring on it, which we were able to piece together later. Um, so here's what happened. We were standing in the kitchen, and I remember the mom came in the front door, And suddenly, Troy and I both felt this heaviness, this darkness. The whole energy of the house changed. And it wasn't because of the mom, it wasn't her energy. It was a very unusual case in that there was an earthbound ghost who had followed her home and attached to her. Now, for everybody listening, that take comfort in knowing that ghosts don't usually attach themselves to people. It's only happened on occasion, a rare occasion, with the IGT group. As far as I know, I think maybe I can think of two other cases. Um, so it doesn't normally happen. But the reason that ghosts will attach themselves to a person is because they sense that that person can likely help them find peace and cross them over, or they sense that that person will help comfort them in some way. So, and that is exactly what the case was here. Um, One of the other cases in the case files of inspired ghost tracking involved another one of those cases where a ghost actually attached himself to a piece of jewelry that he made in Central America. And that was a weird case because we've never had a ghost attach themselves to an inanimate object. So um, I'm trying to remember what the name of that case was, but um, anyway, that one also had that particular ghost of a man, a ghost cat, and a spirit. Um, so that was another 3 for 1. So let's get back to the ghostly attachment with this family. Troy, we were all staying in the kitchen. The mom came in. She said hello. The kids were not in the house at all. Um, and Troy suddenly said he felt flush. He felt warm, and he felt uncomfortable. Um, I also sensed discomfort. So we we went upstairs, and that's when things really started to go crazy. In the woman's bedroom, um, I felt kind of a darkness around. I felt a female energy, a female ghost. Margaret, do you remember what happened exactly from the beginning when we got up there?
Um, Actually, I did not go up with you. Rhonda did.
Oh, that's right.
So I just remember the recounting, y'all telling us what happened.
Okay. Well, we called you up later. Because we definitely needed you later. That's for sure. And we had to solve this problem quickly. So what I sensed is that there was a young woman and she was involved in an accident. I actually saw a car on fire, and then she showed me that there was an earring burned into her ear, and I saw burnt hair and a burnt earring. Um, when we shared that with um, the mom immediately wanted to call work. So it turns out the mother was a nurse in a hospital, and she worked in the burn unit. Um, that's enough to freak you out anyway after hearing that from the ghost. So she excused herself and she went and she called work. She called another nurse, and she asked about the patient in room number 4. I distinctly remember room number 4. I don't know why. Um, she came back to the room and she told us that the vision that I had described is exactly what the patient in room 4 looked like. And it was a young woman, and she was a young African American woman, and she was in a car, and I think that there was something flammable in the trunk of the car, um, and there were a couple of other people in the car. They had gone to a party or something, and it exploded, is what happened. The car became a fireball, and she was the only one that could not get out quickly. Um, it turns out that there were burns over 60% of her body. Now we were able to find the article in the newspaper. I think it was I think Rhonda actually found it, didn't
Yeah.
she? Yeah.
Yep.
So we have that news story in the book. It was from Dorchester County, Maryland, and I took out the last names to help protect the people. Um, but we were able to actually pinpoint exactly who this person was, and and the mom, of course, remembered the girl's first name, so we were able to address her by her first name, and Troy sensed that she acknowledged that we were talking to her and we were trying to help her find peace. So what we learned on this investigation through the mediums, Troy and I and Tom, we all seem to get the same kind of sense that the reason she followed the mom home was because she said that during her brief time in the hospital, dealing with her burns and trying to recover from them, and sadly she didn't, of course. Um, she she said that she received more love and more care from that nurse, that mom, than she did over her entire life. And she knew that if there was anyone at all that could help her find peace, that it would be that mom. So why did she stay behind? Well, my guess is similar to what happens to a number of people who die in a hospital. When you die in a hospital, you immediately wake up as energy outside of your body. Sometimes, just like car accident victims, you have a blackout period and you don't realize what happened just before you passed. That and during that blackout period, people who are involved in car accidents and so forth, they don't feel that pain before they die. They black out. They leave their body. That's typically what happens. So she obviously left her body, and she woke up in the hospital, and she was confused, and she wandered around the hospital for a while trying to figure out why she was there, what had happened to her, um, and the only one she could recognize was the nurse that was taking care of her. So she linked herself to that nurse, followed the nurse home, and hoped that she could find peace. Margaret, do you want to add anything to this?
Um, just the fact, okay, so um, what we thought or what the mother thought um, was somebody there wreaking havoc on her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it wasn't that they were wreaking havoc, it was they were trying to get her attention. They needed something from her. Now, due to the fact of the mother being a nurse and going to be going through this a lot, or could go through it a lot, I did give her some techniques to use when she left the hospital so that nothing got attached to them. And one of the biggest things is chocolate. Chocolate is a grounder. And what better time than Halloween to ground yourself? Eat a piece of chocolate. I carry it with me when we go on investigations, and we all get a piece afterwards, even if you don't like it. So that was one of them. The other one I talked to her was just a little prayer to, you know, um, you can't follow me home. You got to stay here, type of thing. So you're kind of telling them that, it's not okay for them to attach themselves. And then the other one was grabbing onto a tree or a bush, something from Mother Nature. It's another way to ground yourself. It goes back into Mother Nature and it will clear you of anything that's bad around you. Most time.
That's really good advice, especially even if you're, not a hospital worker, even if you're just visiting a hospital or visiting a place where you feel that there may be some negative energy. um, so those are good things to do. And so Margaret is giving you full permission to go steal your kids' Halloween candy and
Yes,
tell them it's for protective reasons.
that's the chocolate.
Um, so once we figured out who this girl was, her name I think was Lakita, um, and what had happened to her, and that she was stuck there because for some reason ghosts who or people who stay a certain period of time, and we don't know how long it is after they die, but they they seem to get stuck. They get stuck on Earth, and and for some reason they don't know how to cross over. So we have to help them. That's what inspired ghost tracking does. And we do that by joining our physical energies together. We often stand together in a circle and hold hands, and we envision that a white light is opening in the corner of a room. Um, Now, because the mom was a critical part of this equation, normally we don't have family members come in. I think on rare occasions we have, but in this case, I do remember that we asked the mom to be there. Um,
Yes.
so she was part of that circle. Um, and she helped add to her energy. And the thing too about crossing ghosts over is that you have to remember they have their memories, their personality, and the knowledge that they acquired from this life. So you have to persuade them that crossing over is the best thing for them. Um, that's the only way that they will find peace. So Troy was working on that. Troy was talking to Lakita, and we had the mom there. And Margaret, Rhonda, Tom, and I were focused on trying to open a portal. Um, so I do remember Troy saying that he felt the young lady come by him, and I think she came into the circle um, as we opened it up. And what we also do too to get ghosts to cross over is we connect to their energy and the energy that is connected to them from their loved ones in spirit. So we have to call upon their relatives who have passed away. Now, I believe that her parents are still alive, so we contacted like grandparents or great grandparents on the other side to get her to recognize them and feel comfortable crossing into the light. It's if you think about it from our perspective, um, it's like saying, Margaret, I think you should go into this house because I'm just telling you it's going to be good for you. And you don't know anything about the house. So are you going to believe me or are you going to be hesitant? You know, you don't know who's waiting behind the door. I mean, especially on Halloween. But so, you really have to gain the trust of the ghost in order to do that. And that's time consuming and it's tricky. Plus, joining all our physical energies together to open that doorway is exhausting. It's emotionally exhausting and it's physically exhausting. Um, Long story short, we got her to cross over, and usually when we cross over a ghost, there's always a temperature change in the room, and I remember feeling this too.
Yeah.
Usually the air gets warmer in the room, um, so that happened, and so we were actually able to bring her peace. And Margaret, you talked to the family afterward, right?
I've
Later.
talked to them a couple of times. She does use the techniques that I gave her, and she has not had any problems ever since then. So they are doing well, and they were one of the ones that they donated to us because they were so appreciative of what we did for them.
That's pretty awesome. Um, so uh, I'm glad that we were able to find peace for two different families because that's really what it's all about. You we not only bring peace to the ghosts, um, but we also bring peace to the families that the ghosts are, frightening. And often we found that ghosts will be in homes with young children sometimes. There are a couple of cases in here in the case files of Inspired Ghost Tracking, where there were young children in the family, and they experienced these ghosts. Um, so that's the case of the burned ghost. Is there anything you'd like to say in conclusion of that case? Because I do want to reference a couple of other cases that are in there we talk about.
No, I think we got it.
Okay, awesome. Um, at the beginning of the talk, we talked about how we never know what we're going to encounter in a person's house. So if you call Margaret, or if you go online to Inspired Ghost Tracking, and you have a form to fill out, an extensive form to fill out, about what's happening and your experiences and so forth. Um, if Margaret approves the investigation, this is a request for me. Please make sure you pick up your house. because because clutter in a house actually adds to negative energy. Um, and it doesn't have to be like Mr. Monk clean, but it just everything in its proper place would be good. No moldy food or anything like that we discovered at one home that we only stayed within, I think, 10 minutes. Um, so that's really important. So if you're feeling in your home a little unease, try to straighten something out. As I mentioned in the beginning of this talk today, it's all about energy, and you all have the ability to sense ghosts and spirits. Granted, some people have a higher chance of sensing them more strongly, like me, because it runs in my family, and it will run in different families. My mom had the ability. I have the ability. Um, but everybody else has the ability. And I always tell people that if you go into a room of people, there's always one person that you want to talk to, and conversely, there's always a person you don't want to talk to. You're reading their energy. The good energy from the person that you do want to talk to, the bad energy from the person you don't want to talk to. Mediums read energy. Sensitives read energy. That's what we do. But it just happens to be the energy of the people who passed. So you can do that. Um, I, I also, in all of the books that I've written, by the way, based on my investigations with IGT, I explain all the different ways that ghosts and spirits communicate that I'm aware of, but there are many, many more. Um, so clean your house and make it feel better and generate good energy. Um, Margaret, you always give people tips about clearing the bad energy from their homes. So especially now that now that we're in Halloween and it's been a really rough um, season otherwise, in the news, maybe you can give people some tips about what they can do in their home to clear some bad energy.
So you could do there's always, open up your blinds and all that, let the light in, because with the light comes positive. You could burn sage. Um, Music is always a good thing. You play your music and it just makes a very positive feeling instead of the negative. As Rob said, cleaning the house. Um, Scents like your candles and all that, you could burn lavender and vanilla, or two of the ones that do help. If you have crystals, you could put some of those around. Um, so there's a lot of different things that you can do to clear your own energy. When you are saging, you want to open your windows so that the old yucky stuff can go out and the new stuff's coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. And be careful with sage because sometimes it can be uh, big on smoking. So,
Yeah.
um, in one particular investigation that was one of my favorite ones, I think Margaret smoked the ghost out. But hey, whatever works. Um, one thing that I didn't touch upon that was not part of this investigation, but it is part of paranormal investigations, and that is orbs. Now, we don't take a lot of stock in orbs as paranormal investigators, but I've found that so orbs are basically a small round ball of light, the most simple form a ghost can take. I've found that the only real orbs are those that seem to have colors and designs in them, and sometimes faces. Now, on several investigations we've been on, we've had a lot of, we use our cameras. So we have taken a lot of pictures. Margaret, I'm going to show a picture from Dr. Samuel Mudd's house here, and there are a couple of orbs in there. I think this is from an IGT picture, isn't it?
It is. Um,
Do do you remember? Do you remember that investigation when you were there?
I do. So I think this was right around the time that um, something pulled on Rhonda's jacket. Now, the orbs here to me, and this is just coming investigator wise, the orbs are most likely your dust or pollen and all that. The thing that gets me in this picture is the mist or the fogginess, because right in the area by the wagon is where Rhonda was standing and got touched.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Um, so I had gone there without IGT, and Tom and I went there separately, and I had some interesting experiences there. And it was Dr. Mudd himself that actually kept coming to me. I remember leaning against a wall near the living room, and my back was against the wall, and somebody was actually poking me in the back, and I knew that was physically impossible because my back was against the wall, and that kind of freaked me out. Um, and I heard Dr. Mudd, and all he kept telling me was, "I am innocent. I am innocent." So the story of Dr. Mudd, for those who don't know, is that he had set the broken leg of John Wilkes Booth after John Wilkes Booth had assassinated President Lincoln at the Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. So Dr. Mudd always claimed that he was innocent. He was not part of the conspiracy, and I think that's why he came through to me. Um, but as you go through the house, if you have a chance in Maryland, go to the Dr. Mudd house and tour it and see what you feel, because we've had a number of experiences there. Um, and Margaret, I'm going to ask you about one particular picture that's in the book in just a second. But before I do, when I went up on the second floor of Dr. Mudd's house, I was in his office, and he kept tapping my elbow. And as soon as we got out of that room and went into another room, I remember the docent saying, um, "Was anybody tapped or touched in the office?" And I was the only one that raised my hand. I said he kept tapping me on my elbow, and she said, "Well, that's the reason I asked, because we've had many, many visitors come in here and say that Dr. Mudd will tap them in his office." So, with that, Margaret, I'm going to toss it back to you about the famous picture. You there, Margaret?
Yeah. All right. So the famous picture, you're looking at the one that Rhonda got in the mirror, and we believe it was Dr. Mudd. Um, in that picture, you see one of our investigators, but behind her, you see a man on the steps that was not there. Um, we were actually on TV with my ghost story caught on tape. And it was episode 59, I believe, that you can find us on TV about that picture and about Dr. Mudd's house.
That's pretty cool. So, Margaret, your audio garbled just a little bit, but just to repeat that on that stairway, when Rhonda took that picture, there was no one on that stairway. But yet, when she looked at the picture, there was the shadow of what looked like a man, a full-grown man. So, I'm going to take just a second and share my screen here. This is an old screen capture of some of the Inspired Ghost Tracking group core members, and you'll see Margaret in the front and Rhonda directly behind her, and that's a bearded me. And I mean, there's Becky and Cheryl and Randy and Diane and
Greg, Troy. I think Greg was with us on that one.
Greg, yep, Amy and Jimmy. Yep. So that's really basically our core group, and that group goes into all of these places and investigates. Some of them are tech people, others are not. But anyway, so that's kind of an overview of the case files of the burned ghost and what you can read in the case files of Inspired Ghost Tracking. Hopefully that puts you in a Halloween mood. And with that, we thank you very much for listening, and happy Halloween.
And thank you, Rob and Margaret, for a timely and really interesting program. I just wish there had been time for us to share some of our own personal experiences, maybe for that program in the future. What do you think?
We would love to hear your experiences.
Okay. Well, we'll put it on the back burner. How does that sound?
That sounds good to me. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
And thank you for everyone for showing up and listening.